The moment I got home, I transferred the entire $650,000 from our joint account. The next day, I went to the courthouse and filed for divorce. The terminal at O'Hare International Airport was bustling with people. I held Mark's hand tightly, tears streaming down my face uncontrollably. "Mark, do you really have to be gone for 2 whole years?" I asked, my voice choked with emotion. Mark gently wiped my tears away, his own voice filled with reluctance. "Hannah, you know how important this project is for my career. 2 years will fly by. I'll video call you all the time. But I'll miss you." I buried my head in his chest. He patted my back softly. "Silly girl, I'll miss you too, but this is a huge opportunity for our future. When I come back, we'll have enough money to finally put a down payment on a house in a good neighborhood." The boarding announcement echoed through the hall. Mark kissed my forehead deeply. "Wait for me." I stood frozen, watching his back disappear through the security checkpoint until my vision blurred with tears. The travelers around me hurried past, no one noticing the weeping woman in the corner. I wiped my eyes with a tissue, took a deep breath, and turned to leave the airport. In the back of the Uber, I leaned against the window, watching the familiar Chicago streets blur past. The driver glanced at me in the rearview mirror. "Seeing someone off?" I nodded, not saying a word. "Seeing you so upset? Must be a boyfriend or husband." "My husband," I replied softly. The driver sighed. "It's tough for young couples these days, having to live apart for work. But don't you worry, a good man always comes back." I managed a faint smile but didn't respond. The car soon arrived at our condo building in Lincoln Park. I paid the fare and walked into the home Mark and I had shared. The empty apartment echoed with my footsteps. I stood in the entryway, looking at the pair of slippers he'd left behind by the door, and a bitter laugh escaped my lips. I kicked off my heels, walked barefoot into the living room, and sank onto the sofa. Pulling my phone from my purse, I opened my banking app. The balance of our joint account was displayed clearly: $650,482.17. This was our entire life savings from 5 years of marriage. My paycheck was direct deposited into this account every month. Mark said it was better for financial management. I never questioned it, because I trusted him. I trusted our marriage. Until 3 days ago. That afternoon, I left work early to surprise Mark. As I approached our building, I saw him walking out of a cafe down the street with another woman. Her arm was linked through his, and they were laughing intimately. I froze. Mark didn't see me. He walked the woman to the curb and hailed a cab for her. Before she got in, Mark leaned down and kissed her on the cheek. I hid behind a large oak tree, my heart feeling like it was being squeezed in a vice, the pain making it hard to breathe. After the cab drove off, Mark turned and walked back toward our building. I didn't confront him. Instead, I took the long way around and went home. That night, Mark came home acting completely normal. "Hannah, sorry, had a late meeting at the office. Have you eaten?" He walked over and kissed my cheek casually. I fought back the urge to recoil. "I ate already," I said with a smile. "I saved you a plate in the oven." "You're the best, babe." He smiled and went to the kitchen to heat his dinner. I sat in the living room, watching his back as he moved about, and suddenly, he felt like a complete stranger. After dinner, Mark brought it up, as if it were an afterthought. "Oh, by the way, Hannah, the company has a big project in Toronto. They want me to lead it. I might have to be there for 2 years. My hand trembled, nearly knocking over my glass of water. 2 years? That's so long. Yeah, it's a long-term project, but it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. My boss said if I pull this off, I'm guaranteed a promotion to vice president when I get back. His eyes shone with excitement. Then, what about me? I asked in a small voice. Mark came over and wrapped his arms around my shoulders. You just keep working here. I'll send you money for living expenses every month. 2 years will be over before you know it. When I get back, we'll be set for life. I leaned against his shoulder and closed my eyes, tears silently tracing paths down my cheeks. In that moment, I understood everything. He wasn't going to Toronto for a project. He was going to be with that woman. The work assignment was nothing but an elaborate lie. The next day, I took a personal day. I needed to know the truth. I hired a private investigator recommended by a college friend. The P.I.'s name was Kevin Vance, a man in his late 30s who seemed professional and reliable. "So, Miss Miller, what can I help you investigate?" Kevin asked, sitting across from me in a quiet coffee shop. I told him everything, including the scene I had witnessed. Kevin nodded. "I understand. In situations like this, if there's infidelity, there's usually a trail. Give me a week. I'll get you a full report. Thank you." I stood up to leave. "Miss Miller," Kevin called after me. "Sometimes the truth can be harsh. Are you prepared for what you might find?" I gave him a wry smile. "No matter how harsh it is, I need to know." For the next few days, I lived a lie. I went to work, came home, cooked dinner for Mark, and we'd chat about our day. On the surface, we were the same loving couple, but I knew my heart was dead. Mark was busy preparing for his trip, booking flights, packing, arranging his visa. He was completely absorbed in the excitement of his new life, utterly oblivious to my changed demeanor. A week later, Kevin met me at the same coffee shop. He handed me a large manila envelope. "Miss Miller, here's the report." I took a deep breath and opened it. Inside was a thick stack of photos and documents. Every single picture was a knife in my heart. Mark and the woman holding hands while shopping on Michigan Avenue. Mark and the woman checking into the Thompson Hotel. Mark and the woman dining intimately at a high-end restaurant. My hands were shaking. Kevin's voice seemed to come from a distance. "Her name is Claire Sutton. She's the new director of marketing at your husband's company. They started seeing each other 3 months ago. According to my investigation, your husband is indeed going to Toronto, but not for a business trip. He and Miss Sutton are immigrating. He's already purchased a condo there, and the down payment was made with money from your joint account." The world spun around me. "Are you all right? Can I get you some water?" Kevin asked with concern. I waved my hand, forcing myself to calm down and continue reading. The file included screenshots of their text messages. "Claire, just a little longer. Once I get Hannah settled, we can finally be together in the open. Mark, I'm waiting for you, darling. Besides, you've already moved most of the money from the joint account." "She's just a woman. What can she do?" "Claire, that's true. Her entire salary has gone into that account for years. I've been investing it. She has very little personal savings. She won't be able to do much of anything after the divorce." "Mark, so when are you going to break it to her?" "Claire, no need. I'll go to Toronto first. After 6 months, I'll tell her I met someone else there and want a divorce. That way she won't make a scene. Since I'm the one initiating it, she'll look petty if she fights it." "Mark, you've thought of everything. So when do we start decorating our place in Toronto?" "Claire, as soon as I get there. Don't worry, we're going to have a wonderful life." I closed the file, shut my eyes, and took a long, deep breath. 5 years of marriage. It was all a meticulously planned scam. "Miss Miller, what do you plan to do?" Kevin asked, handing me a glass of water. I opened my eyes, my gaze now firm. "I'm going to transfer every penny out of that joint account." "Is that legal?" "It's a joint account. I have the right to access the funds," I said with a cold laugh. "Besides, most of that money came from my salary. He thinks I'm a fool who will just sit here and wait for him to come back and dump me?" "He's dreaming." Kevin nodded. "I understand. If you need legal assistance, I can recommend an excellent lawyer." "Thank you." "I do." Leaving the coffee shop, I didn't go home. I went straight to the bank. The teller looked surprised at the amount I wanted to transfer. "Ma'am, this is a substantial sum. Are you sure you want to transfer the entire balance?" "I'm sure." "To my personal account." "Okay. Please enter your PIN." I typed in the numbers and watched the screen flash. Transfer successful. A wave of relief washed over me. $650,000. All in my personal account. It was what I deserved. It was my blood, sweat, and tears from the last 5 years. When I got home, Mark wasn't back yet. I sat on the sofa and began to piece together the last 5 years. We met through a mutual friend. I had just graduated from college and was working as a copywriter at a small agency. Mark was 3 years older, already a project manager at a multinational corporation. He was mature, stable, and charming. He pursued me relentlessly. Flowers, gifts, picking me up from work every day. He said he fell for me the moment he saw me, that I was the most genuine and kind-hearted girl he had ever met. I was swept off my feet by his sweet words and quickly agreed to be his girlfriend. A year later, we were married. The wedding wasn't extravagant, but it was warm and lovely. I thought I had found the man I could spend the rest of my life with. Our married life seemed happy. Mark was good to me. He ate dinner with me every night, and we went out on weekends. I thought this was what marriage was supposed to be. But looking back now, so many details were wrong. Mark always insisted I deposit my salary into our joint account for financial planning, but I never saw a single statement in all those years. I never knew where the money went. He often came home late, claiming he was working, but when I called him, I'd hear loud background noise, like a bar or a restaurant. He was indifferent to my family, always finding excuses not to visit my parents during the holidays. He was busy with work, he'd say, yet he always had time for his own friends. I told myself he was just stressed from work. I told myself he was just an introvert. I made 1,000 excuses to convince myself that my marriage was happy. Looking back now, I was a complete joke. At 8 p.m., Mark came home. "Hannah, I'm back." He kissed my cheek as usual. I suppressed my disgust and smiled. "You're back. Did you eat?" "Yeah, a team dinner at the office," he said, taking off his jacket. "By the way, I leave the day after tomorrow. I just have to wrap some things up at work." "So soon?" I feigned surprise. "Yeah, the project is on a tight schedule." He sat on the sofa. "Hannah, while I'm gone for these 2 years, you have to take good care of yourself. Don't spend money recklessly. Save where you can." I almost laughed out loud. He was about to take all our money and run, and he had the nerve to tell me not to spend recklessly. "I will," I said, looking down. "Mark, you take care of yourself in Toronto too." "Of course I will." He took my hand. "When I get back, we'll buy that big house we always wanted, and then we'll have a baby." "A baby? His baby with Claire?" I just smiled and said nothing. That night, we slept in the same bed as always, but I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. The man lying next to me was about to take our life savings and run off with another woman, and I still had to play my part in this charade. The next day, I went to work as usual. During my lunch break, I called the lawyer Kevin had recommended. "Hello," I was referred by Kevin Vance. "I need to consult with you about a divorce." "Of course. Please tell me about your situation." The lawyer's voice was professional and reassuring. I told her everything. After listening, the lawyer, Miss Davis, said, "Based on what you've described, your husband has committed adultery and is attempting to transfer marital assets. Your action of moving the money from the joint account to your personal one is legally sound, as it is marital property and you have a right to control it. So if I file for divorce now, what can I expect?" I asked. "First, you can sue for damages due to emotional distress, as he is the at-fault party. Second, regarding the division of assets, if you can prove that the majority of the funds in the joint account came from your salary, you can argue for a larger share. Also, if your husband has used marital funds to purchase property abroad, that property is also subject to division." Her analysis gave me a clear path forward. "What documents do I need to prepare?" "Your marriage certificate, social security numbers, evidence of his infidelity, a list of assets, bank statements, and so on. You can start gathering these, and we can schedule a time to meet and discuss in detail." After hanging up, I started preparing the documents. The marriage certificate and our social security cards were in a drawer at home. Kevin had already given me a complete set of evidence of the affair. I could print the bank statements online. Everything was ready. On my way home from work, my mom called. "Hannah, I hear Mark is going to Toronto for work?" "Yes, Mom. The company is sending him," I said calmly. "Then what about you? Will you be okay at home alone?" my mom asked, her voice full of worry. "I'll be fine, Mom. I'm a grown woman. I can take care of myself. But 2 years is a long time. Maybe you should go with him." "Mom, my job is here. I can't just quit. Besides, he's going for work, not to live there permanently. There's no point in me going." My mom sighed. "I guess so. Well, you have to take care of yourself. Call me if you need anything." "I will, Mom." After hanging up, I smiled bitterly. I couldn't imagine how heartbroken my mom would be if she knew I was about to get divorced. But I had no regrets. It was better to end a loveless marriage than to suffer in it. When I got home, Mark was packing. A large suitcase was filled with clothes and toiletries. "Hannah, come see if I've missed anything," he asked, turning to me. I walked over and glanced inside. "Looks like you have everything." "Great!" He zipped up the suitcase. "I leave tomorrow. Let's go out for a nice dinner tonight, a little farewell celebration." "Okay, I forced a smile. We went to a fancy restaurant downtown. It was where we had our first date and where we always celebrated our anniversary. Mark ordered red wine, steak, and my favorite tiramisu. "Hannah, it's going to be tough on you for these 2 years," he said, raising his glass. "When I get back, I promise I'll make it up to you." I raised my glass and clinked it against his. "I'll be waiting." The wine was bittersweet, just like our marriage, sweet on the surface, but bitter underneath. "Oh, after I leave, if you need money for anything, just take it from the joint account," Mark said. "I left plenty in there for you." I almost burst out laughing. There was barely anything left in that account, and he was telling me he'd left me plenty. "Okay, I will," I said, focusing on cutting my steak. "Hannah," Mark suddenly grabbed my hand. "I know you'll be lonely these next 2 years, but you have to wait for me. We have such a strong relationship. We can get through this." I looked into his eyes, which were filled with sincerity. If I hadn't seen the evidence, I would have actually believed him. "I'll wait for you," I said. We came home late that night. Mark had a lot to drink and spent the entire ride home talking about his plans for the future. He said when he came back, we'd upgrade to a bigger house. He said when he came back, we'd go to the Maldives for a second honeymoon. He said when he came back, we'd have a baby. Listening to his words, I felt nothing but irony. He would probably fulfill all those promises with Claire. I was just a stepping stone in his life. The morning I took Mark to the airport, I put on extra makeup, especially dark eyeshadow, to make my crying look more convincing. Mark pulled his suitcase while I held his arm. We looked like any other loving couple, playing out a scene of painful farewell. "Hannah, don't cry. 2 years will be over before you know it," Mark said, wiping my tears. "I know. I just can't bear to see you go," I sobbed. "Silly girl," he hugged me. "You have to take care of yourself. I'll call you all the time." I buried my head in his chest, my tears soaking his shirt. It was time to board. Mark gave me one last kiss. "Wait for me. I'll be waiting," I said with a smile. I stood there, watching him walk through the security gate, his figure getting smaller and smaller until it disappeared completely. There were so many people saying goodbye, some crying, some laughing. No one knew what the most heartbroken-looking woman among them was really thinking. I wiped my tears and turned away from the gate. In the cab, I checked the time on my phone. It was 1:00 a.m. The courthouse was open, but I wasn't in a hurry. I had the driver take me home. Back home, I took a long shower, washing off all my makeup. I changed into a clean, simple navy blue dress that looked dignified and proper. I sat at my vanity, looking at my reflection in the mirror. The naive girl from 5 years ago was gone, replaced by a woman with a determined look in her eyes. I picked up my phone and sent a text to Kevin. "Keep an eye on Mark's movements after he lands in Toronto." A reply came back quickly. "Understood." Next, I texted the lawyer, "Miss Davis, I'll be at your office at 2 p.m. today." She replied, "Sounds good. See you then." With everything arranged, I grabbed my purse. Inside were all the necessary documents, our marriage certificate, my ID, bank cards, and the investigation report from Kevin. At 11 a.m. sharp, I left the house. The courthouse wasn't far, about a 20-minute walk. I decided to walk, a final stroll, to mark the end of this chapter of my life. The streets were busy, everyone caught up in their own lives. No one noticed a woman walking towards the courthouse to end her 5-year marriage. The courthouse lobby was relatively quiet. I went to the information desk. "Excuse me, I'd like to file for divorce." The clerk looked up at me. "Is this a contested or uncontested divorce?" "Contested," I said. "Then you'll need to file a petition with the court first. Once you have a judgment, you can finalize the paperwork here," she explained. I paused. I thought I could just file it here directly. What materials do I need to file with the court? The clerk handed me a checklist. "Just follow the requirements on this list." I took the list and glanced at it. I had everything I needed. "Thank you." I turned and left the building. It seemed I had oversimplified things. Divorce wasn't just a matter of saying you wanted one, it was a legal process. I took out my phone and called my lawyer. "Miss Davis, I just went to the courthouse. They said I need to file a petition first." "That's correct. Because your husband is now out of the country, you can't file for an uncontested divorce. It has to go through the litigation process," Miss Davis said. "Come to my office this afternoon, and we'll go over the strategy." "Okay." After hanging up, I stood outside the courthouse, watching people come and go. Some were beaming, coming to get a marriage license. Others looked miserable, coming to finalize a divorce. Marriage is like a fortress, I thought. People outside want to get in, and people inside want to get out. At 2 p.m., I was in Miss Davis's office. She was a woman in her 40s, sharp and competent. She offered me a seat and a bottle of water. "Miss Miller, I've reviewed the materials you sent over. Your case is a bit complex," Miss Davis said. "First, your husband is now abroad, which will make serving him with the papers more complicated. Second, regarding the division of assets, we need to investigate the property he purchased overseas." "I understand," I nodded. "How long will it likely take?" "If things go smoothly, about 6 months. If he's uncooperative, it could take longer. I can wait 6 months." "Let's start the proceedings now," I said. "Very well." Miss Davis produced a document. "This is a draft of the petition. Please review it and see if you have any changes." I read it carefully. The petition detailed Mark's wrongdoings, including his infidelity and the transfer of marital assets. "It's fine." I signed my name. "Then we will file this with the court tomorrow," Miss Davis said. "Also, the matter of you transferring the funds from the joint account, it's best to keep that confidential for now. If he finds out, he might try to take preemptive action." "I understand," I said. "No one knows about it except you." Leaving the law firm, I felt a sense of relief. The road to divorce was long, but I had taken the first step. When I got home, I started packing up Mark's belongings, his clothes, his books, his photos. Each item was once a part of my reality, but now they only filled me with disgust. I put everything into boxes, planning to ship them to his parents. Let them see what kind of a son they raised. While I was packing, my phone rang. It was Mark. I took a deep breath and answered. "Hannah, I've landed in Toronto." Mark's voice sounded excited. "Oh, was the flight okay?" I tried to keep my voice normal. "It was great. The weather here is nice, but the jet lag is tough," he said. "How was your day? Did you cry a lot?" "I'm okay," I said. "You should get some rest." "Hannah, I love you." I paused for a few seconds, then said, "Me too." After hanging up, I stared at the call log on my phone and laughed. He said he loved me, but he only loved a naive, gullible woman who would happily hand over her money. He never loved the real me. The next few days, I went to work as usual and continued clearing out his things at night. I packed up everything of Mark's and arranged for it to be shipped. I also rearranged the furniture and took down all our photos together. The apartment slowly transformed into a space that was mine alone. Without his presence, I felt a sense of freedom. 5 days later, Miss Davis called. "Miss Miller, the petition has been filed and accepted by the court." "That was fast," I said, surprised. "Yes, your documentation was very thorough, so the process went smoothly," she said. "Next, the court will issue a summons for your husband. He will be required to respond within a specified time. If he fails to respond, the court can issue a default judgment." "Okay, I understand." After hanging up, I let out a long breath. Everything was proceeding as planned. That night, Mark Video called me. On the screen, he was in an unfamiliar room with floor-to-ceiling windows showing a city skyline at night. "Hannah, look, this is my apartment in Toronto," he said, panning the phone around. "Nice, right?" I looked at the stylish apartment and sneered internally. "This must be the condo he bought with our money." "It's very nice," I said. "Are you living there alone?" "Yep, a 1-bedroom the company arranged for me," he said with a smile. "It's a bit empty, though. It would be perfect if you were here with me." I almost laughed. He was probably living there with Claire and still putting on this act. "When you come back, we'll be together again," I said. "Yeah. I'll miss you." After the call ended, I sat on the sofa in a daze. The man's acting skills were incredible. If I hadn't seen the proof with my own eyes, I might have been fooled for the rest of my life. A week later, Kevin sent me a new report. It contained photos of Mark and Claire in Toronto. They were grocery shopping together, cooking together, taking walks together. They looked like a newlywed couple. There was also a photo of them at a real estate agency. Kevin's note read, "They were looking at a house in Vancouver, planning to take out a mortgage in your husband's company's name." I saved all the photos as new evidence. When Miss Davis saw them, she said, "With these, we can file a motion to freeze his assets to prevent him from transferring more property." Please do, I said. Don't worry, Miss Miller, Miss Davis said. I will do everything in my power to get you the best possible outcome. Men like your husband need to pay for their actions. I nodded. Yes, he needed to pay. 2 weeks later, Mark received the court summons. That night, he called me, his voice filled with rage. Hannah, are you insane? Why did you file for divorce? Because I know about you and Claire, I said calmly. There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. What are you talking about? I don't understand. Mark's voice was now laced with panic. Stop pretending, Mark, I sneered. I know you're not in Toronto for work. You're living with Claire. I know you used our money to buy a condo there, and I know you never planned on coming back. Hannah, listen to me. Let me explain. No more explanations. I cut him off. I've filed the papers. I'll see you in court. How dare you? You transferred the money from the joint account, didn't you? That's marital property. You had no right to do that. Mark finally dropped the act. Most of that money was my salary. What's wrong with me taking it? I retorted. And what about you? Using marital property to buy a house in another country. Isn't that hiding assets? Mark was silent. Hannah, you'll regret this, he said menacingly. What do you think you're going to get from this divorce? You'll get nothing. We'll see about that, I said and hung up. After the call, my hands were trembling. Even though I was prepared for this, the actual confrontation was still painful. In the following days, Mark constantly called and messaged me, sometimes begging for forgiveness, sometimes threatening me. I ignored all of it. I focused all my energy on my work and the lawsuit. Miss Davis was incredibly professional. She helped me prepare all the evidence, proof of Mark's affair, proof of his asset transfer, and my salary records for the past 5 years. Miss Miller, you have a very strong case, Miss Davis assured me. Your husband is clearly at fault and has illegally transferred marital property. The court will almost certainly rule in your favor. Thank you, Miss Davis. You're welcome. This is my job, she said. Stay strong. This will be over soon. I nodded. Yes, I had to be strong. I was no longer the naive girl from 5 years ago. A month later, the court hearing took place. Mark did not return to the country. He was represented by a lawyer. The hearing went smoothly. Miss Davis presented all the evidence to the court. Mark's lawyer tried to argue that the photos were doctored and that the property purchase was an investment, but in the face of solid evidence, his arguments were weak. The judge adjourned the court and announced that a verdict would be delivered at a later date. Walking out of the courtroom, Miss Davis patted my shoulder. You did great, Miss Miller. Now we just wait for the good news. I smiled. Thank you, Miss Davis. The day the verdict came was a beautiful, sunny day. Miss Davis called me. Miss Miller, the judgment is in. The court has ruled in our favor. The divorce is granted. In terms of assets, you are awarded the entire balance of the joint account, plus half the value of the property your ex-husband purchased abroad. Furthermore, he is ordered to pay you $75,000 in damages for emotional distress. Listening to the news, I began to cry. Not out of joy, but out of relief. I was finally free. Thank you, Miss Davis. Thank you so much, I said through my tears. You're welcome. You deserve it, she said. Now, go live your life. Forget the past and start anew. I will. After hanging up, I sat in my office and looked out at the sky. 5 years of marriage had come to an end. I thought I would be devastated. But at that moment, all I felt was a profound sense of release. That night, I went out for dinner with a few good friends. Hannah, congratulations on your freedom, my best friend Sarah toasted. I raised my glass and clinked it with theirs. Thank you guys for being with me through all this. That scumbag got what he deserved, another friend, Emily, said angrily. After everything you did for him, he betrayed you like that. Let's let the past be the past, I said with a smile. From now on, I'm going to live for myself and not waste any more time on people who aren't worth it. That's right, Sarah said. Here's to Hannah's new life. We clinked our glasses and drank. Life after the divorce was different from what I had imagined. I thought I would be sad, crying myself to sleep every night, but in reality, I felt liberated. Without Mark, I no longer had to worry about when he would come home, no longer had to walk on eggshells to please him, no longer had to hand over my entire paycheck. I redesigned my life, First, I completely redecorated the condo, getting rid of anything that reminded me of Mark. I bought new furniture and painted the walls. The place felt fresh and new, just like my life. Second, I signed up for a yoga class. I went after work every day. It was great for both my body and my mind. I also learned to cook different cuisines. When Mark was around, I always made the American comfort food he liked. Now, I could make whatever I wanted to eat. I also started traveling. I packed a bag and went to all the places I had always wanted to see, but never had the chance. I met interesting people, heard fascinating stories. I realized the world was so much bigger than my failed marriage, with so many other things worth pursuing. 6 months later, Mark's mother found me. "Hannah, can you please forgive Mark?" "He knows he was wrong," she said, holding my hand. Her eyes red. I gently pulled my hand away. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Evans, I can't." "But you were married for 5 years. You had such a deep connection. How can you just end it like this?" she pleaded. "A relationship can't be sustained by one person's effort alone," I said calmly. "Mark cheated on me. That's a fact. I can't forgive him." "He was just confused for a moment. He was seduced by that harlot," she said, agitated. "He's already broken up with her. He wants to come back to you." I laughed coldly. "He broke up with her? Is that because the court ordered him to pay me, and now he's broke?" Her face paled. "I know you're hurting, and I know you pity your son," I said. "But please try to understand my position. Mark and I are divorced. We are not getting back together. Please don't come looking for me again." With that, I turned and walked away. I could hear her sobbing behind me, but I didn't look back. I knew I was being cold, but I didn't regret it. I had given Mark his chance. He was the one who threw it away. A few months later, I met a man at work named Ben Carter. He was the new manager in the marketing department, a couple of years older than me, mature, stable, and very charming. We got to know each other through a work project. He was very kind to me, often helping me with work-related issues. One day, he asked me out to dinner. "Hannah, I heard you're divorced," he said straightforwardly. I was a bit taken aback, but nodded. "Yes." "Are you seeing anyone now?" he asked, looking directly into my eyes. I shook my head. "No." "Then, can I have the chance to ask you out?" he said earnestly. "I know this might be too soon, but I really like you. I like your independence, your strength, your kindness. I want to take care of you, protect you, and give you a warm home." I looked into his sincere eyes and felt a stir in my heart. But I still shook my head. "I'm sorry, Ben. I'm not ready for a new relationship right now." "I understand," he said. "Then I'll wait. No matter how long it takes, I'll wait." That night, I went home and sat on my balcony, looking at the stars. Maybe one day I would believe in love again, but for now, I just wanted to love myself. A year later, the court judgment was enforced. Mark paid the damages and transferred the cash equivalent of his half of the Toronto property to me. With the $650,000 from the joint account, I now had nearly $1 million in savings. It was more than enough to live a comfortable life. I used some of the money to open a small coffee shop just downstairs from my building. It wasn't big, but it was cozy and welcoming. Every morning, I would brew coffee for my customers. In the afternoons, I would sit by the window, read a book, and enjoy the sun. Life became simple and beautiful. One day, Sarah came to my coffee shop. "Hannah, you look genuinely happy now," she said. "Do I?" I smiled. "I feel it too. Do you ever regret it?" she asked suddenly. I thought for a moment and shook my head. No regrets. That marriage brought me a lot of pain, but it also made me grow. I learned to protect myself, to not trust blindly, and most importantly, to love myself. Will you ever trust in love again? I looked at the sunlight streaming through the window and smiled. Yes, but next time I'll be more cautious, more rational. I'll never again give up myself for the sake of love. Sarah nodded in approval. "You've changed, for the better." Yes, I had changed. I was no longer the naive, easily deceived girl. I had become an independent, strong woman who knew what she wanted. 2 years later, one afternoon, a familiar figure walked into my coffee shop. It was Mark. He looked haggard, with streaks of gray in his hair. "Hannah," he said my name, his voice hoarse. I looked at him calmly. "What are you doing here?" I I wanted to apologize, he said. I'm sorry. For everything. I didn't say anything, just looked at him. I know I did a lot of terrible things. I hurt you, he continued. I regret it so much now, but I know it's too late. I just wanted to tell you. I'm sorry. Okay. I heard you, I said. Is there anything else? Mark was taken aback. He shook his head. Then please leave, I said, pointing to the door. He looked at me, his eyes filled with bitterness. Hannah, do you really not hate me at all? I thought for a moment. I used to hate you. I hated you so much I wanted revenge. But I don't hate you anymore. I realized hating someone is exhausting. You're not worth it. Are you happy now? He asked. Very happy. I smiled. Happier than I ever was with you. That sentence was like a dagger to his heart. He gave a bitter laugh, turned, and left the coffee shop. Watching his retreating back, I suddenly realized that the man I once loved so desperately was now just a stranger to me. Time is a wonderful thing. It heals all wounds. Now, my days are full and peaceful. I wake up, practice yoga for an hour, then make myself a leisurely breakfast. At 9 a.m., I open the coffee shop. For lunch, I'll make something simple, like pasta or a sandwich. In the afternoon, if it's not busy, I'll sit by the window and read. I've recently gotten into psychology, and it's fascinating. In the evenings, I'll meet friends for dinner or watch a movie at home. On weekends, I go hiking in the nearby state parks or visit the Art Institute. Life is quiet, but it's beautiful. Most importantly, I've found myself again. I don't need to depend on anyone. I can live my life independently and face the world on my own terms. 6 months ago, Ben asked me out again. Hannah, I've waited 2 years for you, he said. I know you've been through a lot, and I'm not rushing you, but I want you to know that I'm still here, waiting. In that moment, I felt that maybe I could give him a chance. Ben, I said, I'm willing to try. He was ecstatic and hugged me tightly. Really? Really? I smiled. But I have to be honest. I'm not sure if I love you yet. I'm just willing to give us a chance. That's enough. That's more than enough, he said. I'll show you with my actions that I'm worthy of your love. We've been together for 3 months now. He's wonderful to me, gentle, considerate, and supportive. He respects my opinions, supports my career, and never pressures me into doing anything I don't want to do. Being with him feels comfortable and liberating. Maybe this is what real love is supposed to feel like. Not a whirlwind of passion, but a steady stream. Not possession, but respect. Not confinement, but freedom. I don't know what our future holds, but I'm willing to try, because I believe that as long as I love myself enough, am independent enough, and strong enough, I won't be hurt again. A few days ago, I got a message from an old acquaintance who knew Mark. He said Mark and Claire had broken up. She left him when she found out he was broke. He's now alone in Toronto, struggling to make ends meet. He asked if I could lend him some money to get through this tough time. I looked at the message and smiled. I replied, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Then I blocked the number. Not because I'm heartless, but because I know his problems are of his own making. When he betrayed me, lied to me, and hurt me, did he ever consider my feelings? Now that he's down on his luck, he remembers me. Sorry, I'm not a recycling bin. I'm not here for anyone's emotional baggage. I just want to love myself and live my life. Last week, I went to a college reunion. Everyone was catching up. Some got promotions, some had their second child, some got divorced. When it was my turn, I said, I'm divorced, I own a coffee shop, I have a new boyfriend, and I'm very happy. Everyone was surprised and congratulated me. A classmate asked, Hannah, you don't regret getting divorced? After all, you were married for 5 years. I shook my head. No regrets. If I hadn't gotten divorced, I might have spent my whole life living a lie. The divorce was painful, but it allowed me to find myself again. You're so brave, another classmate said. A lot of women in your situation would have just put up with it, for the sake of the family. I didn't have children then, so the choice was easier, I said. And I believe an unhappy family is more damaging to a child anyway. Everyone nodded in agreement. That night, I had a bit to drink. When I got home, I stood on my balcony, looking at the city lights. I thought about myself 3 years ago, the woman who tearfully saw her husband off at the airport. Back then, I thought my world was ending. But here I am now, living better than ever before. I proved that a woman doesn't need anyone to live a wonderful life. Today, a special customer came into the coffee shop. She was a young girl, probably in her early 20s. She ordered a latte and sat in a corner, quietly crying. I walked over and gently asked, "Do you need a tissue?" She looked up, her eyes red. "Thank you." I handed her a tissue and sat down across from her. "If you don't mind, would you like to talk about it?" She hesitated for a moment, then nodded. It turned out she had just found out her boyfriend was cheating on her. She didn't know what to do, forgive him, or break up. He said it was a one-time mistake. "That he still loves me," the girl said. "But I feel so hurt, so confused." Looking at her, I remembered myself 3 years ago. "Listen to me," I said earnestly. "There's no such thing as just once when it comes to cheating. It's either 0 times or countless times. If you forgive him this time, he'll do it again. And someone who truly loves you would never hurt you like this. But we've been together for 3 years. I don't want to throw it all away," the girl cried. 3 years is a long time," I said. "But if that relationship is causing you pain, it's not worth holding on to. You have to learn to love yourself, to respect yourself. Don't waste your youth on someone who doesn't deserve it." The girl looked at me, tears glistening in her eyes. "You're right. I know what I have to do." I smiled. "Good for you. You'll meet someone better." Watching her walk away, I suddenly felt that my experience could help others. Perhaps that's the meaning of pain. It makes us grow, and it enables us to help others grow, too. 3 months later, one evening, I was closing out the register at the coffee shop when my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered, and a woman's voice said, "Am I speaking with Miss Hannah Miller?" "Yes, this is she." "This is Officer Chen from the Toronto Police Service," she said. "We need to inform you of a situation regarding your ex-husband, Mr. Mark Evans." My heart skipped a beat. "What's wrong?" "Mr. Evans has been arrested for investment fraud and embezzlement," the officer said. "According to our investigation, he has been running a Ponzi scheme for several years, with the total amount involved exceeding 20 million Canadian dollars. I was stunned. "Furthermore," the officer continued, "before his arrest, he left a letter to be delivered to you. In the letter, he states that a portion of the money he used to purchase the property in Canada came from these illegal funds. The Crown is now seizing these assets, which may involve you." My hand holding the phone started to tremble. "Also," the officer paused, "Mr. Evans stated that he never loved you, that he married you solely for—" The voice on the other end kept talking, but I couldn't hear it anymore. I looked at my phone screen and saw another call coming in. The caller ID said Ben. I hesitated for a second, told the officer I understand, and hung up. But just as I was about to answer Ben's call, the door to the coffee shop burst open. A strange man rushed in and stared at me. "Hannah Miller?" "I'm one of Mark Evans's creditors. You have to pay back his debt." I looked at the strange man before me, forcing myself to remain calm. The few remaining customers in the shop were startled by the sudden intrusion. "Sir, please calm down," I said, my voice as steady as I could make it. "Mark and I are divorced. His debts are not my responsibility." "Not your responsibility?" the man scoffed. "You were his wife. Don't you know about marital debt? Mark owes me $5 million. You have to pay it back." "I need to see a promissory note," I said, "and proof that this debt was incurred during our marriage and was used for our shared living expenses. Otherwise, I have no obligation to repay this debt." The man was taken aback, clearly not expecting this response. Just then, Ben rushed in. He must have been worried when I didn't answer his call. "Hannah, are you okay?" he said, stepping in front of me to shield me from the man. "Sir, whatever the issue is, we can discuss it calmly." "Who are you?" the man asked warily. "I'm Hannah's boyfriend," Ben said. "Regarding the debt you mentioned, we can resolve it through legal channels. If you continue to cause a scene, I will call the police." The man looked at us, then at the other customers in the shop. Finally, he snorted. "Fine, we'll see you in court." He turned and left. Ben closed the door and wrapped his arms around me. "You must have been terrified." I leaned into his embrace, my heart pounding. I had put on a brave face, but I was actually scared. "I'm so glad you're here," I whispered. "Silly girl. I told you I would protect you," he said, gently patting my back. "What was that about a debt?" I told him about the phone call from the police. After listening, Ben's brows furrowed. "That bastard Mark. What else has he done?" I had no idea. I sighed. I thought after the divorce I would be done with him. I never expected all this. Don't worry, Ben said. I'll go with you to see your lawyer tomorrow. You're divorced, and your assets have been legally divided. His criminal activities and debts in Canada have nothing to do with you. I nodded, but a sense of unease still lingered. That night, I couldn't sleep. The police officer's words echoed in my mind. Mr. Evans stated that he never loved you, that he married you solely for what? To steal my money? Or was there another motive? I suddenly realized that from the very beginning, I might have been just a pawn in his elaborate game. The next day, Ben accompanied me to see Miss Davis. After hearing the whole story, she let out a sigh of relief. Miss Miller, you don't need to worry too much. First, you and Mr. Evans are divorced, and your assets have been legally divided. Second, according to marital law, any debt incurred by one spouse in their own name that is not for the family's daily needs is not considered joint marital debt, unless the creditor can prove that the debt was used for shared living, shared business, or was based on the mutual consent of both spouses. What about the $5 million that man mentioned? I asked. He needs to provide evidence that the debt was incurred during your marriage and was used for your shared life, Miss Davis said. From his reaction, he probably can't produce such evidence. And what about what the police said, that some of the money Mark used to buy the condo in Canada was from his illegal activities? That property was already divided in the divorce settlement, with half awarded to you, correct? Miss Davis said, reviewing the previous judgment. If the police want to seize it, they need to prove that you were aware of and participated in the illegal activities. Otherwise, as a good faith third party, your share of the property is protected by law. Hearing this, I finally felt a sense of relief, but Miss Davis added, however, you should still be prepared. Mr. Evans's case is quite serious, and there may be other creditors who will come looking for you. I suggest you keep all your documents, including the divorce decree and property settlement agreement. If anyone harasses you, call the police immediately. I nodded. I understand. Thank you, Miss Davis. Walking out of the law firm, Ben held my hand. Don't be afraid. I'm here. I looked at him, a wave of warmth washing over me. In the following weeks, more people came to my door, claiming to be Mark's creditors. Some had promissory notes, others had bank transfer records. All of them said Mark owed them money and demanded that I pay. Following Miss Davis's advice, I asked each of them to provide proof that the debt was incurred during our marriage and was used for our shared life. Not a single one of them could. Most of the loans were made after our divorce, and some of the promissory notes were obvious forgeries. I documented everything and handed it over to Miss Davis to handle. But the trouble still took a toll on my life. The coffee shop's business suffered because people kept coming to cause a scene, and customers were scared away. My mood plummeted, and I was constantly on edge, worrying about what new trouble would come next. Ben saw my distress and was heartbroken. Hannah, why don't we move the shop to a new location? He suggested. Or maybe close it for a while, take a break, and reopen after this blows over. I shook my head. No, I can't let Mark's mess ruin my life. I worked so hard to get where I am. I can't give up. No buts, I said firmly. He's hurt me once. I won't let him destroy what I have now. Ben looked at me, his eyes full of admiration. Okay, I support you, but you have to promise me that if you run into any trouble you can't handle, you'll tell me. I promise. A month later, there was finally a breakthrough. News came from the Canadian police. Mark's case was clear. He was indeed guilty of large-scale investment fraud and embezzlement and would face severe criminal penalties. The police also confirmed that I was unaware of his illegal activities and was in fact one of his victims. Therefore, the assets awarded to me in the divorce settlement would not be seized. Hearing this news, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Miss Davis also resolved the issues with the creditors. Through legal proceedings, all the debts were confirmed as Mark's personal debts and had nothing to do with me. Gradually, the troublemakers stopped coming, and business at the coffee shop returned to normal. My life was finally getting back on track. But I knew this experience had taught me a profound lesson. I thought a divorce would be a clean break, but a person's past always finds ways to affect their present. I needed to be more careful, more vigilant in my life. That night, the Toronto police called me again. Miss Miller, Mr. Evans would like to say something to you. Are you willing to listen? I hesitated for a moment. Okay. Mark's voice came on the line, weak and frail. Hannah. Go on. I'm listening, I said calmly. I'm sorry, he said. I know I wronged you. I did so many terrible things. I remained silent, waiting for him to continue. The truth is, I married you with an ulterior motive from the start. Mark's voice was filled with regret. I saw how naive and kind you were, and I saw your steady income. I wanted to use you, to take your money for my investments, for my business. My heart felt like it was being pricked by a needle. I had suspected it, but hearing him admit it still hurt. I thought I could succeed, he said. I thought I could make a lot of money and then give you a better life. But I was wrong. I was too greedy. I shouldn't have gotten involved in illegal fundraising. I shouldn't have cheated so many people. And what about Claire? I asked. Claire. She was a victim too, Mark said with a bitter laugh. She thought I was rich. She was with me for the money. When she found out I was a fraud, she left. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Hannah, I know saying sorry is useless now, Mark said. I just wanted to tell you that, during our 5 years together, even though I started with a motive. Later on, I really did love you, but I was too greedy, too foolish, and I destroyed everything. I opened my eyes and said calmly, Mark, you know what I hate the most? It's not that you stole my money, it's that you played with my feelings. For 5 years, I treated you as the most important person in my life. I trusted you, depended on you, loved you, and what about you? You treated me like a tool, a pawn to be used. I know. His voice was filled with pain. But I also have to thank you, I said. Thank you for showing me your true colors, for letting me cut my losses in time. If it weren't for you, I might have spent my whole life as that naive, easily deceived girl. Hannah, this is the last time we will speak. I cut him off. From now on, we go our separate ways. I hope you reflect on your actions in prison and become a better person. With that, I hung up the phone. After the call, I sat on the sofa in a daze. Ben came and sat next to me. Are you still sad? I shook my head. Not sad, just a little regretful. Regretful about what? Regretful for those 5 years. Regretful that I once loved someone so unworthy, I said. But I don't regret the experience. It made me grow. It made me stronger. Ben took my hand. You know what I admire most about you, Hannah? It's your resilience. You've been through so much pain, but you haven't let it break you. Instead, you've become more independent, more courageous. I looked at him, a wave of warmth spreading through my heart. Ben, thank you for being by my side through all this, I said. I don't think I could have gotten through it without you. Silly girl, we're a couple. That's what I'm here for, he said. And I should be thanking you for giving me the chance to take care of you, to love you. That night, we talked for a long time. We talked about the past, the present, and the future. Ben said he wanted to marry me, to give me a home. I told him I was willing, but I needed time. I needed to be sure that he truly loved me, not just pitied me or wanted to save me. He said he understood and that he would wait, no matter how long it took. In that moment, I finally understood what true love was. It's not a passionate storm, but a steady, gentle stream. It's not about possession and control, but about respect and understanding. It's not about demanding someone to change for you, but about embracing them for who they are. 6 months later, business at the coffee shop was booming. I hired 2 employees, a recent college graduate named Chloe and a woman in her 40s named Maria. Chloe was a quick learner, and Maria was hardworking and kept the shop spotless. With their help, my life became much easier. I started to have more time for myself. I signed up for a photography class and discovered the joy of capturing life through a lens. I also started writing. I wrote about my experiences and submitted them to several lifestyle magazines. To my surprise, a few of my articles were published, and I received many letters from readers. Many of them had similar experiences, hurt in their marriages, and unsure of what to do. I replied to every letter, encouraging them to be brave, to make their own choices. I told them that a woman doesn't need anyone to live a wonderful life. I told them that leaving someone who doesn't love you isn't a failure, but a rebirth. I told them that to find true happiness, you must first learn to love and respect yourself. Last winter, Ben proposed to me. He took me for a walk on the beach. The Chicago winter was cold, the wind biting, but my heart was warm. We walked along the shore, our footprints appearing and disappearing with the waves. "Hannah," Ben suddenly stopped and turned to me. "I have something to tell you." "What is it?" I asked curiously. He got down on one knee, pulled a small box from his pocket, and opened it to reveal a diamond ring. "Hannah Miller, will you marry me?" he asked, looking into my eyes. "I know you've been through a painful marriage, and I know you're afraid. But I want you to know that I'm not Mark. I will spend my whole life loving you, protecting you, and making you happy. I will never lie to you, never betray you, never hurt you. I just want to walk through the rest of my life with you." I looked at him, tears streaming down my face. "Ben," I choked. "If you're not ready, I can wait," he said. "No matter how long, I'll wait." I shook my head and smiled through my tears. "No need to wait. I'm ready." He stood up excitedly, slipped the ring onto my finger, and pulled me into a tight embrace. The wind howled, and the waves crashed against the shore, but we held each other like two trees intertwined, never to be separated again. Our wedding was simple. We only invited our closest family and friends, no lavish venue, no expensive dress, just the most sincere blessings. My mom held my hand, her eyes filled with tears. "Hannah, I'm so happy to finally see you happy." "I am happy, Mom," I smiled. "Ben is a good man. You have to cherish him," my mom said. "I will." At the wedding, Ben said to me, "Hannah, thank you for marrying me. I promise I will spend my whole life loving you and making you the happiest woman in the world." I looked at him, my heart full of love. I knew, this time, I had chosen right. Married life is peaceful and happy. Ben is thoughtful and caring. He'll give me a massage when I'm tired, cook dinner when I'm busy, and make me laugh when I'm feeling down. He respects my career and supports my dreams. He never asked me to give up the coffee shop to be a stay-at-home wife. In fact, he often comes to help out. We run the coffee shop together, and we plan our future together. This spring, I found out I was pregnant. I was both excited and nervous. Excited to finally have a child of my own, and nervous about whether I could be a good mother. Ben was even more excited than I was. He went for walks with me every day, cooked nutritious meals, and bought a stack of parenting books to study. "Hannah, who do you think the baby will look like?" he'd ask. "Of course, they'll look like you," I'd laugh. "I hope it's a boy, handsome like you. I hope it's a girl, beautiful like you," he'd say. We dreamed about our future, about our little family. The pregnancy was tough, but I was happy. I knew this child was conceived in love, a symbol of my love with Ben. During my 5th month of pregnancy, I received a special letter. It was from Mark's mother. In the letter, she apologized to me. She said she was sorry for not raising her son well, for causing me so much pain. She also said Mark was behaving well in prison and was working hard to reform himself. She said he wanted her to tell me that he sincerely wished me happiness. Reading the letter, I felt a mix of emotions. I didn't hate his mother. She was a victim too. She raised a son, never expecting him to go down such a dark path. I wrote back to her, telling her that I had forgiven everything, that I was very happy now, and that she shouldn't blame herself. I also told her that everyone makes mistakes, and the important thing is to learn from them. I hoped Mark would reflect on his actions in prison and start a new life when he got out. After writing that letter, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. I had finally let go of the past. I had truly forgiven Mark, and I had forgiven myself. Last fall, our baby was born. A beautiful girl. We named her Clara. I want her to grow up in a world of love and have a peaceful and happy life. Looking at my daughter in my arms, I thought about the girl I used to be, naive and easily deceived. I had to go through so much pain to become the woman I am today. I will share my experiences with my daughter. I will teach her to protect herself, to love herself, to tell right from wrong. I will let her know that a woman can be gentle, but not weak, kind, but not foolish, loving, but she must first love herself. Now, my life is full and happy. I wake up, take care of my daughter, feed her, change her, play with her. When she's asleep, I go to the coffee shop to help out. Even with a child, I haven't given up my career. Ben is incredibly supportive. He always says a woman shouldn't have to give up her dreams just because she gets married and has children. In the afternoons, I take Clara to the park. In the evenings, the three of us have dinner together and talk about our day. This quiet life is everything I ever dreamed of. Last month, the coffee shop hosted a special event. I invited some women who had gone through similar experiences to share their stories. Some were recently divorced and still struggling with the pain. Some were still hesitating, unsure if they should leave their marriages. And some had already moved on and started new lives. I shared my story. I told them that leaving someone who doesn't love you isn't a failure, but a rebirth. I know it's painful. I know you're lost right now, I said. But please believe me, the pain is temporary. If you take that brave step, you'll find a wonderful world waiting for you. But I'm scared, a young woman said. I'm scared of being alone. Being alone is better than being in an unhappy marriage, I said. And who says being divorced means being alone? You can have your friends, your career, your own life, and you can find love again, with someone who truly loves you. Are you happy now? Another woman asked. I looked over at Ben, who was standing by the door, holding our daughter and smiling at me. Very happy, I said with a smile, happier than I ever imagined. After the event, many people came to thank me. They said my story had given them the courage to face their own lives. They said I had given them hope, made them believe that a woman can live a wonderful life without depending on anyone. I was glad that my experience could help others. Perhaps that is the meaning of pain. It makes us grow, and it enables us to help others grow. This year marks the 5th anniversary of my divorce. In these 5 years, I have been through a lot. I've grown from a dependent woman into an independent, strong one. I've gone from a broken victim to a guide for others. I've transformed from a hopeless divorcee into a wife and mother in a happy family. And it's all thanks to that one brave decision I made. If I hadn't decisively transferred the money and filed for divorce after seeing Mark off at the airport, I might still be living a lie, waiting for a man who would never come back. Last week, I attended a seminar on women's independence and growth. The speaker was a well-known female author who shared many stories of female empowerment. Listening to her, I felt deeply moved. I raised my hand to speak. I'd like to share my story, I said. 5 years ago, I got divorced. At the time, everyone said I was foolish, impulsive, that I would regret it. But today, 5 years later, I can proudly say that I have no regrets. Getting divorced was the best decision I ever made. The audience applauded. Divorce allowed me to find myself again, I continued. In my marriage, I lost myself, my dreams, my ability to think independently. I gave everything to my husband, thinking that was love. But I learned that a love where you lose yourself has no foundation. So, I want to tell all the women out there, whether you're single, in a relationship, or married, remember to never lose yourself. You can love someone, but you must first love yourself. You can give to someone, but never lose your identity. Because only when you are strong and independent can you find true happiness. The room erupted in another round of applause. After the seminar, many people came up to me, wanting to hear more of my story. I was happy to share. I hope my experience can help more women learn to love, respect, and protect themselves. Last night, my daughter said "Mama" for the first time. I cried with joy. I held her close and whispered in my heart, "My baby, Mama will always love you and protect you. I will raise you in a world of love, and you will grow up to be an independent, strong, and kind girl." Ben came over and wrapped his arms around us. "We'll protect her together." I leaned against his shoulder, looking at my daughter in my arms, my heart overflowing with happiness. This is the life I've always wanted. A loving husband, a beautiful daughter, my own career, and my own friends. I no longer need to depend on anyone. I can live my life independently and face the world on my own.